You guys had a very, very eventful day yesterday. Mr. Trump had to basically cross the border to get into the California GOP convention there to give what was really one of the most energetic speeches I've seen from Mr. Trump. And of course, he never disappoints with his speeches. But I wanted to ask you, we've seen these protests coming up all around the country now. It looks like they're only going to intensify. What is the Trump campaign? How are you guys planning to deal with these guys? What is the plan moving forward? What is your reaction to the protesters yesterday? And obviously yesterday they were pretty violent. They were burning stuff outside in the street and holding a lot of different signs like "Make America Mexico Again." That's the big one. That's the lead on Drudge right now. I wanted to see, what's your reaction to the protesters? How do you guys plan to deal with them?
Well, clearly what you have is you have professional agitators who don't actually want to change anything. They just want to cause a disruption. That's what we saw yesterday. As you know, Mr. Trump was simply coming to make a speech at the California GOP convention, and these professionals decided to close down the road to cause as much havoc as possible, not because of any reason other than they want to draw attention to themselves. And so, the really disappointing part is, while everyone agrees with the free speech notion, the fact that they want to prevent somebody from going and be able to give a speech is the exact antithesis of everything that's wrong with our country. We should be able to include everybody. Everyone should be able to go and talk. And look, if you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. If this was taking place on the other side, if the Trump people were closing down places so Hillary Clinton couldn't speak for some reason, then what would happen is this would be the biggest news story, and they'd be calling on Donald Trump to have his people not do this. But that's not what's going on here. What's going on is people don't like the fact that Donald Trump is going to fundamentally change the way Washington, D.C. works. He's going to get rid of this broken, corrupt system, and they want to stop him in any way they can from doing that. What they see, we are the clear front runner in this race. He will achieve 1,237 delegates before the first ballot, and they're doing anything they can to disrupt his campaign.
Now, Corey, one of the biggest stories that I think that's out there that people haven't talked about, and we've done a series of data analyses at Breitbart, is we've shown that this Republican primary, we've seen an increase of 8.7 million Republican voters. On the Democrat side, there's been a decrease of 4.5 million from back in 2008, last time there was a competitive Democrat primary. And then the latest story that we're coming out with today, also in there, too, is that Donald Trump has received 2 million more votes than Mitt Romney. And that was after New York, before these other 5 states that just voted where Trump won big on the Acela corridor. But then the latest story we come out with today is that Hillary Clinton actually has less votes in 2016 than Hillary Clinton did in 2008. What do you think these numbers show? Do they show a weakened Democratic candidate heading into the general election, and emboldened Republican candidate, assuming Mr. Trump gets there?
Well, I think what it shows is clearly Donald Trump is bringing people out who have either been disenfranchised or so disappointed in the system because they haven't had a voice. And what we've seen is from New Hampshire to Florida to Nevada and all the way up to Michigan, people are pouring out in record numbers. The crowds, the lines to wait in Arizona, just a few weeks ago, were 4 hours long, so people can go and cast their votes for Donald Trump, because they are finally, the American people are finally realizing that we have a candidate who for the first time is not bought and paid for by special interests. He has millions and millions of more votes closer than any of his closest Republican competitors. And you have to remember, Matt, the important part here was that when Mr. Trump started this race, there were 17 people in this field. Many pundits said the greatest political field ever assembled. And he has now more votes and the increase in Republican voter turnout than anybody could have ever predicted. So we're very pleased. But the converse of that is exactly what you just said. Democrats' voter turnout is down. The reason is they know Hillary Clinton is a flawed candidate. If you go back and you look at the individuals in closed primary states, particularly Massachusetts and Pennsylvania, who were required to change their party registration because they wanted to vote in a Republican primary, what you saw is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who were registered Democrats who, before the deadline happened, changed their party registration so they could go and participate in the Republican primary process and vote for Donald Trump. And what we saw in Pennsylvania was Donald Trump won every single county. And so we are very pleased with the increase in turnout. And what we do know is when Donald Trump is a nominee, and if Hillary Clinton is a nominee and is not indicted, this will probably be the largest, biggest voter turnout in the history of our country, which I believe to be a good thing because people should be involved.
So you guys expect to win the general election, assuming you get there in a landslide?
Well, look, I think what you have with Donald Trump is you have the only candidate in the Republican field who has an ability to expand the map and help down ballot tickets right now. Because if you look at Ted Cruz, he has no path to winning any state that Mitt Romney lost in 2012. He just doesn't. So if you want to look at the electoral map, and if the goal is to elect a Republican and put a Republican in the White House for the first time in 8 years, you have to have a candidate who can actually win at a national level. And Donald Trump is that candidate. He's the only candidate that has won in the Northeast and the Southeast and the West and the Midwest and the Southwest. He's a truly national candidate where you have other candidates in the race. John Kasich has won in one state, his home state, of course. Ted Cruz has been much more of a regional candidate with no real ability to win across the country. So if you want to win in the general election against a Hillary Clinton or the Democratic machine, you have to nominate the candidate who has the ability to win and put states like Pennsylvania and Michigan and Florida and Virginia and New York in play. And the only person that's going to do that is Donald Trump.
And so now, speaking of that, there's another big contest coming up on this coming Tuesday in the great state of Indiana. And we are seeing all the recent polls here have Mr. Trump ahead, though it is a tight race. And Senator Cruz is trying to compete there. And he's got bringing out all the guns and all the resources. Yesterday, he got what appears to be like a semi-endorsement from the governor, who said he's voting for him, but he also praised Mr. Trump. And I remember I just saw your guys' campaign schedule that you released last night for the next couple of days here. You guys have tons of events. Mr. Trump is going to be doing a lot of events throughout the state of Indiana over the next couple of days. How are you guys feeling heading into Indiana? Where do things stand?
Look, Indiana is going to be a very competitive state. We know that. It's a winner-take-all state, so it's important. And it is a state where historically at this point in the primary process, it has not mattered, nor have the others. So there is a new focus on Indiana. It's a very important state right now as you look at delegate acquisition. And so, look, we've worked very hard in Indiana. We've got the great endorsement of the legendary coach, Bobby Knight. It's such an honor to have that endorsement. Mr. Trump has spent a lot of time in Indiana. He's got a series of events in Indiana over the next few days, so we'll be there a lot. And, our goal is to compete as aggressively as possible in the state. And so that's what we're looking to do. We will take nothing for granted. Our door operation, our phone operation is up and running right now in addition to Mr. Trump's travel schedule. And we will leave no stone unturned to try and be as successful as we can be in the state of Indiana.
Now, assuming you guys win Indiana, so if the polls are right and you guys win it on Tuesday, does that leave any pathway whatsoever forward for Senator Cruz to continue his campaign?
Well, mathematically, Senator Cruz has already been eliminated from securing the Republican nomination on the first ballot at the convention in July. So we know that already, as has Senator Kasich. And, again, what I would call on both of those individuals to do is to unite behind the front runner. Donald Trump has about 1,000 delegates right now. That doesn't include states like New Jersey, where we think we can do very well in coming up. It doesn't include proportionate representation in California, where we think we can do very well. Donald Trump is going to receive more than 1,237 delegates prior to the convention in July. And the more we fight amongst ourselves, whether that's with Ted Cruz or John Kasich, the less energy we can focus on fighting the real person or the real enemy here, which is Hillary Clinton and the Democratic machine. So I would recommend, I would encourage, I would ask respectfully, Senator Cruz, John Kasich, come join the Trump train. The train is rolling down the tracks. We want you. We want to build the party. We want to grow the party. We want to put everyone together. We want to be a unified messenger, and we want to make sure we keep our eyes squarely on the prize, which is winning the November election.
All right, and Corey, the last thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go is, speaking of the general election and Hillary Clinton, one of the new talking points that we continually see from Secretary Clinton, and she hits this home in almost every speech she gives, is she says we don't want to build walls. We want to build. We want to knock down barriers. Right now, obviously, that's a knock at Mr. Trump's plan to build a wall on the border. What do you guys think about that? How do you plan to respond to that specific criticism from Secretary Clinton?
Well, let's be very clear. Hillary Clinton doesn't want to build a wall. She doesn't want to do anything that's actually going to put America first. And that's the significant difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton doesn't want to create jobs in our country. She wants to create jobs in other countries and then bring those products back into our country. That doesn't help us. Hillary Clinton doesn't want to renegotiate the terrible trade deals that we have in place. That's what Donald Trump will do. The difference here is that what Donald Trump has said, he will do. He has a proven record of achieving things where people say can't be done. And what he will do is he will build a wall on the southern border. We will protect our U.S. interests first. We will make sure that it is America first for a change. We will bring jobs back to our country. We will make sure that before companies leave, they understand the consequences of leaving and understand that it is not good for the American people to have our jobs shipped overseas to only have those products brought back into the U.S. These are things. There's a clear dichotomy in this race moving forward to November. You can have a person on the top of the ticket on the Democrat side who's never created a private sector job. You can have a person on the Republican side who's created hundreds of thousands of private sector jobs and know what it means to make payroll and know what it means to build a business and have a mindset. The mindset is the important thing. The mindset of putting America first, making sure that we're not spending more than we bring in, controlling our national debt, reducing our deficit. These are just simple things, but it's the clear difference between what the Democrats want and what Donald Trump brings to this country.
All right. Well, Corey Lewandowski, Donald Trump's campaign manager, thanks for taking the time on Breitbart News Saturday here to join us.
Have a great day, Matt. Thanks.